Jessica Chastain is a talented but damaged assassin in the new video-on-demand title, Ava. Is this a killer movie, or is it dead on arrival? Ava is a highly trained and deadly assassin working for a black ops organization. She travels the globe specializing in high-profile hits, and when a job goes dangerously wrong, she is forced to fight for her own survival. I really enjoyed Chastain's acting, and I have loved all of the different roles that she has chosen over her career. This time she is playing the title character of Ava, a former soldier who is now turned assassin. During the opening credits of the movie is where we get her backstory through just a series of montages, and so it gives us the detail on how she becomes this killer for hire. There's a lot of family issues that Ava is dealing with and has dealt with, and that crafts her character and really also makes it why she's such a damaged person. Geena Davis plays her mom, and I don't know the last time that I saw Geena Davis in anything, so it was kind of cool to see her pop onto the screen. But her as the mom, let's just say they don't have the nicest or the strongest family relationship. There are a couple of key players in this, in addition to Chastain. We've got John Malkovich, Colin Farrell, Common, and Diane Silvers. And each of them does get to bring a little bit of fun to the screen, some more than others. John Malkovich, I really like. I like him in a lot of things. In this, though, he does feel like he's overacting just a little bit. And it's almost a little bit melodramatic. And part of that is the role that he is taking on as kind of this father figure to Ava. He comes across as smarmy at times, but also sometimes really disingenuous. So you don't know if you can truly trust what he's saying or not. Colin Farrell is cold and secretive, and he makes the character work. Common feels a little reserved or maybe even stoic. I typically like watching him in things, but in this, it just felt like his character was hiding too much or wasn't able to release and to have some emotion that it sounded like and it felt like the dialogue was calling for. And there were times where he should have been like gregarious, bigger than life, or maybe even just emotive, and he wasn't. And I don't know if that's the script, if that's the direction that he was given, what it really was, but he just felt like he was kind of clamped down and forced to be in this tight little area who couldn't react to things, at least in the way that you feel that he should. Diana Silvers has very little dialogue in this and really not a lot of screen time, so she's just kind of there in the movie. I mean, she does play sort of a role that's important, but it's not totally that important. She's almost like the observer in Fringe. I mean, she's just kind of there. She's seeing things happen, but she doesn't interact much. So let's talk about what works in this movie, and that is the action. I mean, there are some crazy intense action scenes. We get some really good hand-to-hand battles, and the filmmakers put us right in the middle to a lot of them. There's some good chase scenes as well as some gunfights, but it really comes down to that hand-to-hand combat. There's those close-quarter battles that it feels at times like the characters know that they are in a fight for their life. And it comes across well. And that's the part that I really enjoyed in this movie. It was brutal at times, and it worked. I also like that as the actors are going along, there's this element of realness to it, like that they're not bulletproof, that they get exhausted after a certain period of time, and they begin to slow down a little bit in their interaction, in their fighting. And I enjoyed that part because it felt real. Like you can't go nonstop 150% all the time and not even be winded. And the characters pull it off. I mean, sometimes they just slouch back and they're just like, oh. The acting in this also works. I like the portrayal of most of the characters. I think we get enough information to know who we're dealing with, but unfortunately it does feel pretty shallow on most of the characters. There are some that we do get a little bit more information on, but on the whole, the motivations of certain key people, we just don't know. They're just kind of there, and we're just asked to go along on the ride. And that leads me into what doesn't work in this movie, and it's the story. It's pretty bland, it's really forgettable, and most of it comes across as just generic. And the writing makes the interactions between characters very stiff at times. And you have some of that chemistry that should be there between characters, and it's sucked away. And so there's no emotional draw for us to who we're seeing on screen, save for maybe Jessica Chastain's Ava a little bit. One thing that really should add more drama to the story is the character of Ava. She's really damaged, and so a deep dive into her psyche would be pretty interesting. I mean, it would be fun, it would also be dark, but I think it would be enjoyable. There are moments, but a lot of the writing does tend to keep us at an arm's length away from the character and to really investing in her. And really what was frustrating is when we had the opportunity, when it looked like the story was going to dive into her emotional journey a little bit, it gets interrupted by an action sequence. And I'm not knocking the action sequence, that was a lot of fun, but it's almost like the writers didn't think that we as an audience could handle going into her character more. The narrative is also pretty predictable. Even before the halfway mark of the film, we're pretty much told what the entire plot of the story is. So that just leaves us an hour to kind of watch it play out without many surprises. Now the story is pretty simple, and that's not always a bad thing. But in this, the lack of complexity combined with the genericness of it just makes it unmemorable. And a lot of the interactions between characters feel like a business deal. There isn't emotion tied to the decisions that they're making, so it ends up just feeling like a transaction. So like I've said, the action is fun and it's exciting. I mean, that was the highlight of the movie, but it's not enough to save the genericness of the story. If this was playing as part of a streaming platform on something that you didn't have to pay extra to watch, then I could probably recommend it a little bit more. But as it stands, shelling out even a few bucks for this is not really worth it. Unless you have really had a hankering to see this movie and maybe you have a discount code or a credit for a VOD platform, then I would say at least wait on this one. I mean, I thought it was going to be just a good action escape, and the action part of it is great, and it's a lot of fun, and you can really get invested in that because some of the fights are very brutal, and they're a lot of fun to watch, especially when the camera puts us right in the middle of it. And I like, too, that they don't cut away a lot, that it's not a whole bunch of cutscenes, that we do get some action, so we get different angles of it, but it's not just every 1 second that it's absolutely switching angles, and it's just kind of distracting to watch. So this is 96 minutes of exciting but sporadic action, some family drama, and a less than memorable story. There's a little sex, no nudity, a bunch of profanity, and a lot of brutal violence. I give Ava 2.5 out of 5 couches. Do you have a favorite Jessica Chastain movie? I think I might choose Molly's Game as mine. I really liked that movie and enjoyed her performance a ton. But I'd love to know yours in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.